Donald Trump's emissaries met this summer with Ukrainian officials about the U.S. president's demands for investigations into political rival Joe Biden, a whistleblower complaint released Thursday alleges. White House officials also tried to lock down records of a July 25 telephone conversation between Mr. Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the document says, in a bid to ensure Mr. Trump's efforts to press Mr. Zelensky into ordering the investigation did not become public. I have received information from multiple U.S. government officials that the President of the United States is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. election, the complaint reads. Story continues below. Advertisement. Trump asked Ukraine's president to investigate Joe Biden's activities. Rough transcript shows key takeaways from Trump's phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Impeaching Donald Trump would only make matters worse. The whistleblower, a U.S. intelligence official whose identity has so far been kept confidential, detailed the concerns in a 9-page letter dated August 12. That document started a battle between Democratic legislators and the Trump administration to make public its allegations, and it has touched off an impeachment inquiry by the U.S. House of Representatives, the first step in efforts to push Mr. Trump out of office scarcely a year before the next election. The Trump administration turned over the complaint to Congress Wednesday, shortly after making public a rough transcript of the president's call with Mr. Zelensky. The House Intelligence Committee released the complaint publicly early Thursday ahead of a hearing with Acting Director of National Intelligence Joseph Maguire. The complaint first details the telephone call, in which Mr. Trump asked Mr. Zelensky to investigate both Mr. Biden, a leading contender for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, and a Democratic National Committee computer server that Mr. Trump believed was in Ukraine. In that call, Mr. Trump told Mr. Zelensky that his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, would follow up with him about the investigations. The whistleblower says they did not have first-hand knowledge of the events described, but heard about them from other U.S. officials, including some who work in the White House. In the days after Mr. Trump's conversation with Mr. Zelensky, the complaint says, senior White House officials had intervened to lock down all records of the phone call. White House lawyers ordered that the transcript of the call be removed from the computer system where it would normally be stored and placed into a separate system reserved for especially sensitive, classified information. One White House official described this act as an abuse of this electronic system because the call did not contain anything remotely sensitive from a national security perspective, the whistleblower wrote. Meanwhile, the complaint says, Mr. Giuliani met in Madrid on August 2 with Andrew Yermak, an advisor to Mr. Zelensky. U.S. officials told the whistleblower this was a direct follow-up about the cases discussed in the phone call, the whistleblower says. Mr. Giuliani also contacted Mr. Zelensky's chief of staff and the head of Ukraine's security service, Andriy Burdin and Ivan Bakanov. Story continues below. Advertisement. Story continues below. Advertisement. During July 26 meetings in Kiev, Kurt Volker and Gordon Sondland, the U.S.'s special representative for Ukraine negotiations and EU ambassador, advised Ukrainian officials about how to navigate the demands that the president had made of Mr. Zelensky the previous day, the complaint says. The whistleblower also says that Ukrainian officials were told Mr. Trump would only speak with Mr. Zelensky if he agreed to play ball on the investigations. Mr. Trump has insisted he did nothing wrong in his conversation with Mr. Zelensky. The president has claimed, without providing evidence, that Mr. Biden's son Hunter Biden engaged in shady business dealings while working for a Ukrainian oil and gas company and should be investigated. The Democrats are trying to destroy the Republican Party and all that it stands for. Stick together, play the game, and fight hard, Republicans. Our country is at stake, Mr. Trump tweeted Thursday morning. The Democrats are trying to destroy the Republican Party and all that it stands for. Stick together, play the game, and fight hard, Republicans. Our country is at stake. Donald J. Trump at Real Donald Trump, September 26, 2019. Our morning update and evening update newsletters are written by Globe editors, giving you a concise summary of the day's most important headlines. Sign up today. Let's block ads. Why?